Hello everyone and welcome back to the lecture series where we are discussing about the syllogism portion of the logical reasoning. The images used in our slide deck are for educational purposes only. We respect the intellectual property rights of the original creator and the owners of these images. If you are the owner of any of the images used in the deck and have any concerns or queries, please contact us at sathee@iitk.ac.in and we shall remove the images. So my dear students, we have in our previous lecture series, we have discussed till question number 17. And in this particular lecture series, in this particular lecture, we are continuing with the same practice questions of syllogism. So without wasting any further ado, we would be continuing with the questions that will be in front of us. And the same pattern we are going to follow. I will be giving you 15 seconds per questions to draw the Venn diagram. And based on the Venn diagram, you are supposed to figure out what can be the conclusions. And it should be kept in mind that the solutions that will be in front of you may be correct, may not be correct. So as I've already informed you in our previous lecture, that we have to cross-verify that the statements and the solutions that will be drawn by the students as well as that will be depicted in front of the screen are correct or not. And once we have confirmed that the statements as well as the Venn diagram which has been provided in the solution is correct, then eventually we will move towards the conclusions and we will try to figure out whether we can infer the following conclusions from the statements that has been provided. So my dear students, your 15 seconds starts now. You are requested to draw the Venn diagram representing circles which few bulbs are tube lights, no tube lights are fans, and few fans are lights. So my dear students, I suppose you have you were able to draw the Venn diagram where which the statement suggests that few bulbs are tube lights, no tube lights are fans, and the third statement says few fans are lights. Now let's go to the conclusion. Now let's go to this solution and let's try to figure out that what can be the correct representation of statement number 1, which says that few bulbs are tube lights. So few bulbs are tube lights. This is the circle which is representing bulbs. This is the circle which is representing tube lights. And this particular intersection showcases that there is some relation between bulbs and tube lights, which is therefore this particular Venn diagram for statement number 1 is correct. Now let's move and try to understand what exactly the second statement is saying. It is saying that no tube lights are fans. So this is the circle which is representing tube light. This is the circle which is representing fan, and there is no relation between tube lights and fans. So the second statement also can be inferred from the Venn diagram. The third statement says that few fans are lights. There are certain areas where which we can see there is a relation between the circle which is representing fans are lights and there is an intersection. Okay, so that means that this particular Venn diagram for relation between the fans and lights, the statement number 3 seems to be correct. So the first statement is also correct, the second statement is also correct, and the third statement is also correct according to the Venn diagram and the statement that has been provided. So now we can quickly move towards the conclusion portion and let's try to figure out what can be the conclusion. The first statement says that few lights are tube lights. The first statement is few lights are tube lights. Can we infer from this few lights are tube lights? There is no relation between lights and tube lights. First statement cannot be considered to be true because there is no relation between lights and tube lights. All lights, all bulbs may be fans. Bulbs and fans. Again, there is no relation between bulbs and fans. No relation whatsoever between bulbs and fans. Therefore, statement number 2 also seems to be wrong. Maybe fans, all bulbs may be fans. It is also not true. Few lights are tube lights. There is no relation between lights and tube lights. So both the conclusions, conclusion number 1 and conclusion number 2, cannot be inferred to the statements that has been provided and through the Venn diagram that has been drawn. So therefore, the answer for this question would be neither conclusion 1 nor conclusion 2 follows. neither conclusion 1 nor conclusion 2 follows. I suppose you have understood that how we were able to come to this particular conclusion. Now, let's move forward and let's try to solve another question so that it becomes more evident for you that the answers that are coming are actually correct. And if there is any problem or any the misunderstanding, it can also be corrected by solving more questions that are going to be there in this particular lecture series. Okay, so now the third question that is in front of you, the second question for today is: all statements are fruits, all apples are fruits, some fruits are sweets, and no sweet is sour. Okay, so we have to draw the Venn diagram in such a manner where which we represent that all apples are fruits. So there will be a circle that is going to represent apple. There is a circle that is going to represent fruits. There is a circle that is going to represent sweet. And there is a circle that is going to represent sour. So now I'm going to give you 15 seconds from now. You have 15 seconds to draw the Venn diagram, and let's see the solution, whether the solution and your diagram that you have drawn is actually correct or not correct. Okay, 15 seconds starts now. Okay, guys. So I suppose you have drawn the Venn diagram. Let's try to understand whether this particular Venn diagram, which is suggesting that which is actually resonating with the statements that has been provided or not. So now the first statement says all apples are fruits. All apples are fruits. Whether this Venn diagram that is in front of you, all apples are fruits, is it the correct Venn diagram? Is it the correct Venn diagram? No. This is not the correct Venn diagram. The reason is there is some portion of apples which is outside the circle of fruits. Which is outside the circle of fruits, meaning which this particular diagram is not correct for statement number 1. The correct representation would have been, this is the circle which is going to represent apple. And then this is the circle which is going to represent fruits. Why? Because the statement suggests that all apples are fruits. So all apples are what? Fruits. So fruits will be the bigger circle. That apple is entirely contained within the set fruits. Now this is the correct diagram. Now some fruits are sweet. Some fruits are sweet. So some fruits are sweet. There should be an intersection. So again, the second Venn diagram, which is suggesting the relation between fruits and sweets, is not correct, because this particular Venn diagram is suggesting what, my dear students? It is suggesting that there is no relation between fruits and sweets, but rather the statement suggests that there should be some fruits which are sweet, which means that it indicates some overlap between fruits and sweets. So fruits is this particular circle, and the overlap for sweet should be like this. So some fruits are sweets are this. This is the area. So now the second statement will also be correct according to the Venn diagram, which is right in front of you. And the third statement says no sweet is sour. So this is the circle which is representing sweet, and this is the circle which is representing sour. The third Venn diagram seems to be correct because there is no relation between sweet and sour. So this will be the correct Venn diagram for statement number 1. This will be the correct Venn diagram for statement number 2. And this will be the correct Venn diagram for statement number 3. So now, taking these 3 Venn diagrams and the statements into consideration, let's try to figure out whether these statements are true or not. The statement 1 says some fruits are not sour. No fruit is sour. So when we say no fruit is sour, what is this particular statement suggesting? That there is no relation between fruit and sour. So what does that mean? That some fruits are not sour. This is correct statement. Reason being, no fruit is sour. That means that some of the fruits will also be not sour. None of the fruits will be sour. That statement is also correct. So the first conclusion seems to be correct. Some fruits are not sour. It is correct because all fruits are not sour. So no fruit are sour is also would have been correct. So this particular conclusion is correct. Some apples are sweet. Some apples are sweet. Can we confer this particular statement? Some apples are sweet. Some apples are sweet. The answer is wrong here. This conclusion cannot be inferred. The reason is there is a relation between fruits and sweets. My dear fellow students, we need to understand this question again. There is no relation between apples and there is no relation between apple and sweet through the statement that has been provided. All fruits are apples. Okay? All fruits are apples. So if this statement would have been some apples which are fruits, some apples which are fruits are sweet, then we would have considered that statement to be true. If the statement would have said some apples are sweet is a possibility, then we would have considered this statement to be true. But this particular statement is not true. The reason being, it is clearly saying that the conclusion is saying that some apples are sweet, which obviously cannot be inferred through the statement that has been provided. So only conclusion one shall follow. The answer for this particular question will be only conclusion one follows. Understood? The answer for this question would not be C, but rather be A. Why? I have just given you the reason, and I suppose you will also be accepting the fact that since there has been no relation whatsoever between the apple and sweet, we cannot come to the conclusion. There is a possibility, again, I would like to say here that there is a possibility that some of the apples which are fruits, can be sweet, but it is not 100% true. So we cannot conclude from the statement that second statement is correct. But first statement is, since the first statement is correct, so only conclusion one shall follow. I suppose you have understood this question, and this doubt is also cleared that certain times the syllogism, when the solution will be provided, even the solution can be wrong. So it is very important to cross-verify from the statement that has been provided whether the Venn diagram that is representing the statements is true or not. Until unless we are not sure whether the Venn diagram is correct, we cannot come to the conclusions directly. तो इसलिए बहुत जरूरी होता है स्टूडेंट्स कि आप उन स्टेटमेंट्स को जो आपके सामने दिए गए हैं उनको ही मेन सोर्स मान के पहले वेन डायग्राम ड्रॉ करें. आफ्टर आपने वेन डायग्राम ड्रॉ कर लिया है तो आप एक बार क्रॉस वेरीफाई करें कि जो स्टेटमेंट्स हैं वो एक्चुअली सजेस्ट कर रहे हैं वेन डायग्राम के थ्रू भी वही चीज जो स्टेटमेंट में दिया हुआ है. And if the Venn diagram seems to be correct, then by the use of the Venn diagram, we can come to the conclusion whether the statement can be assumed true or not to be true. Okay? So now again, I will be giving you another set of questions. This particular question, which you have to draw the Venn diagram and you will have to figure out whether the statement can be considered to be true or not. Again, you will have to read the statements. Now, please try to draw the Venn diagram within 15 seconds from now. And once you have drawn the Venn diagram, we will try to understand whether the Venn diagram is correct or not. The statements are chocolates, are candies. All chocolates are candies. Some candies are biscuits. And no biscuit is ice cream. Almost the same question as the previous one. My dear students. And I would request you to now let's verify what exactly is the statement and how the conclusion would follow. So the first statement says, all chocolates are candies. All chocolates are candies. Is this the correct way of representing all chocolates are candies, my dear students? No, this is not the correct method of drawing all chocolates are candies, because there are certain portion of chocolates which is outside the purview of the circle of candies. Therefore, it is not representing all chocolates are candies. The correct diagram would have been that there should have been the circle which is going to represent chocolate and other circle which is going to represent candies. Okay, candies. So this is chocolate and this is candies. Now this particular Venn diagram seems to be correct for statement number 1. This is statement number 1. This particular Venn diagram is correct. Some candies are biscuits. Is there any relation between candies and biscuit against in this particular Venn diagram? No, there is no overlapping between candies and biscuit. Therefore, we cannot infer that this particular Venn diagram is correct for the second statement also. Rather, the second statement would have been in this manner. That biscuits, some candies are biscuits. Now it is showcasing that some candies can be biscuits. Some candies can be biscuits. Okay. Now, the third statement says that no biscuit is ice cream. Now, the third statement seems to be correct. The Venn diagram is absolutely correct for the third statement. So now, based on these Venn diagram representation, the correct one, the second correct one, and the third correct one, which is there is no relation between biscuits and ice cream. Now, we can cross-verify whether the conclusion follows from this particular Venn diagram or not. So the first statement says that some chocolates are not ice cream. Some chocolates are not ice cream. Yes, this statement is absolutely true because there is no relation between chocolates and ice cream. So the first statement seems to be correct. This is absolutely correct. The second statement says all biscuit being chocolate is a possibility. All chocolates, does the statement says all biscuits, I'm so sorry, all biscuits being chocolate is a possibility. All chocolates being biscuit is a possibility. Do we find any relation between chocolates and biscuits through this particular Venn diagram? Do we find any relation? All biscuits being chocolate is a possibility. There is no relation between chocolates and biscuit. Although there is a relation between candies and biscuit, but there is no relation between chocolates and biscuits. Therefore, the first statement is only correct. The second statement doesn't seem to be correct. The correct answer would be only conclusion 1 follows. And this is what is the right answer that has been enumerated under question 20 also. So my dear students, I suppose you have understood how even the Venn diagrams are sometimes wrong, but not to worry at all. We are not at all worried about how the solutions are and what actually we have drawn. Because according to the statements that has been provided, only the statement has to be taken into consideration. And then it is the duty of the students or the person who is solving the questions that they should draw the Venn diagram based on the statements given. And then they will utilize that particular Venn diagram to come to the conclusions. Okay. So I suppose you have understood this particular question. Now let's move on to the next question, the last question for today, because we have already discussed a few good questions and now it is your time to solve this particular question by yourself. And the next question is right in front of your screen now. This question suggests, this is a statement, my dear students, question number 21, the last question for today, which suggests that some flowers are plants, all plants are trees, no tree is grass. Okay. Some flowers are plants, all plants are trees, and no tree is grass. So based on this particular statement, you will have to draw the Venn diagram. Your time starts now. So my dear students, I suppose you have already drawn the Venn diagram. Let's try to understand the solution, whether the solution is right or not. Okay, now the solution showcases that this is the first statement. First statement says some flowers are plants. So this is the circle which is representing flowers. And this is the circle which is representing plants, flower and plants. Some flowers are plants. Some of the flowers are plants. So this particular diagram, which is representing the relation between flowers and plants, according to statement number 1 and the Venn diagram, seems to be correct. Now, second question says that all plants are trees. All plants are trees, my fellow dear students. So this particular diagram is showcasing that some of the plants are not trees. Some of the plants are not trees. So therefore, the second inference, the second statement is not drawn correctly according to the Venn diagram. So we'll have to draw it again. So the second statement would have been in such a manner that this circle is going to represent plants. Okay. And the first statement says that some flowers are plants. So obviously there will be some intersection between flowers and plants. And then it is saying that all plants are what? All plants are what? All plants are trees. All plants are trees. So this would have been the correct method of drawing the Venn diagram, which is going to represent the first statement as well as the second statement. So now the first statement says some flowers are plant, which is actually true according to this particular statement. And then there is another statement which is suggesting that all plants are trees. All plants are trees. And then the third statement says that no tree is grass. That no tree is grass. There is no relation between tree and grass. So the third statement seems to be correct. So this is correct statement for question number one. Statement number one. This is correct Venn diagram for statement number two. And this is the correct Venn diagram which is suggesting no relation between trees and grass for statement number three. Now, based on this Venn diagram, we will try to analyze that what exactly is the statement. Some flowers are not grass. Some flowers are not grass. Absolutely correct. There is no relation between flowers and grass. So this particular statement seems to be correct at all because some flowers are not grass. And now all flowers being trees is a possibility. All flowers being trees is a possibility. Is there any relation that we see? All flowers being trees is a possibility. There are some flowers. Okay, because it has been mentioned. Now we have to infer from these two statements. From these two statements, my dear students. Some flowers are plants. Some flowers are plants. Okay, some flowers are plants. Is it correct? So there are some flowers which are plants. So there is some common thing between flowers and plants. Now when we see that all plants are trees, so those flowers which are plants, shall also be trees according to the statement. If we consider the statement number one and statement number two together, first statement is some flowers are plants and all plants are trees. Then some flowers are trees also. Some flowers are trees also. Some flowers are trees also. That can be inferred because it is saying, if you would have taken the statement in another format, all plants are trees. All plants are trees, correct. Some flowers are plants. Some of the flowers are plants. So there are certain flowers which are plants, which are also trees, because there is a possibility you cannot have intersection between flowers and plants without taking into consideration the trees, because all plants are within the ambit of trees itself. So this particular portion is suggesting that all flowers, some of the flowers, all flowers can also be, or some of the flowers are trees. That is 100% sure. So is it possible? The conclusion 2 is saying all flowers being tree is a possibility. All flowers being trees is a possibility. So what it is suggesting that it also be possible that there should be flowers and there should be some flowers which is plants. Correct. This is the first statement. And all flowers are trees. Can't it be like this also? Can we draw the Venn diagram in this manner also? Is this alternative Venn diagram suggesting the same inference that has been mentioned in the statement? Some flowers are plants. Some of the flowers are plants. Correct. All flowers or plants are trees. All plants are trees. That is also correct. All plants are trees. Okay. Now, no tree is grass. No tree is grass. So this statement is correct. So can it be a possibility? The statement is, after taking both the two Venn diagrams into consideration, can it be a possibility that all flowers can be trees? All flowers can be trees. Yes, there is a possibility because some flowers which are plants are also trees. So there is a possibility that this particular statement is also true. If this would have been mentioned as all flowers are trees, If this would have mentioned as all flowers are trees, then the statement would have not been right. तब ये statement गलत हो जाता, क्योंकि possibility word नहीं लगा हुआ होता है यहाँ पे. तो you are saying that कि सारे के सारे plants जो flowers है वो trees हैं. This cannot be inferred. So it is a possibility that the flowers would have, all the flowers would have been plants, or all the flowers would have been trees. But this is not 100% correct. There is a possibility. So since there is a possibility, we can assume that the second statement is also true. The correct answer for the statement would be both conclusion 1 and conclusion 2 follows. So the answer for this particular question would be answer C. So I suppose you have understood, my dear students, that how is the small fraction of the statement, some fruit, flowers and plants, and all plants are tree, with which we got with which we can conclude that there are some flowers which are plants or trees from this Venn diagram. Is it correct? Correct. So is there any possibility that all flowers can be trees? Is there any possibility? It can be possible if this particular Venn diagram would have been there. So if the statement, the conclusion itself says that all flowers being trees is a possibility, there are chances, then the conclusion would have been right. If the conclusion would have been all flowers are trees, then that statement would have not been right. So if you can understand, अगर आप लोग समझ पाए हो कि एक छोटा सा वर्ड पॉसिबिलिटी का लगा के हम लोगों ने उस कंक्लूजन को, जो कि कायदे से गलत होता, which would have not been right, have been made right, because we can infer from the statements, we can decide from the statement that has been provided that there can be a possibility that all flowers are plants, but it cannot be said 100% correct. And that the same thing has been mentioned in the conclusion itself. Conclusion खुद ही बोल रहा है कि possibility हो सकती है, but not 100% sure. तो वो स्टेटमेंट भी करेक्ट है. सो इसलिए वो कंक्लूजन भी करेक्ट है. तो कंक्लूजन नंबर 1 जो कि कह रहा है सम फ्लावर्स आर नॉट ग्रास, क्योंकि कोई रिलेशन है ही नहीं फ्लावर्स और ग्रास में, तो पहला कंक्लूजन तो बिल्कुल करेक्ट हो गया. और जो सेकंड कंक्लूजन है जो कह रहा है आपके ऑल फ्लावर्स बीइंग ट्रीज इज अ पॉसिबिलिटी, सम फ्लावर्स आर प्लांट्स एंड दोस प्लांट्स आर ट्रीज, सो सम फ्लावर्स विल बी ट्रीज, देयर इज अ पॉसिबिलिटी, सो देयरफॉर ऑल फ्लावर्स बीइंग ट्रीज is a possibility in itself. So therefore, both conclusion 1 and 2 follows. Both conclusion 1 and 2 follows. Okay, guys. Another interesting lecture has come to an end, which is in regards to syllogism. And I suppose you enjoyed solving these complicated questions that were put in front of you, and a little bit of mind-boggling approach that you might have understood in this particular lecture series. Because as I've already told you, it is not about the spoon feeding, but rather about the practice, which is going to make you excellent in solving syllogism questions. And that is why this approach has been utilized in our lecture series in order to ensure that the students are not only understanding the concept, but they are solving the questions by themselves. They are analyzing the questions by themselves, and they're trying to solve these questions by themselves, so that once we are discussing the questions, we both can come to the same platform. We can understand that the questions and the statements and the Venn diagram and the conclusion has to resonate in order to find the correct solution. And once that has been achieved, nobody can stop you from getting the correct answer. With this, I would again like to thank you all for being present in this particular lecture series. We will be continuing with our practicing syllogism question in our upcoming lectures. Till then, I would again request you to continue practicing your syllogism portion and other areas of your competitive examination, and be confident and be efficient. And I wish you the very best of luck for your competitive examination. Thank you so much, guys. Bye-bye. Take care.